Hey folks, this video hopefully will serve as a walkthrough of what is possible now with the latest Oculus Rift demo as well as the castAR. So basically this is for the ride attendees for both stations. So we're going to have two large HDTVs. So first of all, let me show you the castAR tent. I don't have much lighting here, but effectively these panels are going to be open, showing you the inside. I'm not done trimming the excess material here. I'll make nice sharp edges everywhere, but you now have flat panels on 4 surfaces. The roof is open and I'm hoping that will be fine. I don't think there's going to be that much light pollution coming from the top, but in case there is, we also have this is one of my photography lighting umbrellas that I've sacrificed. I've ripped out the internal lining and basically we just pop this open. I'll figure all this out, of course, before the demos actually begin, but just to show you what we may be forced to have is a simple roof like this. It fits nice and snug on the top of it. And what I'm afraid of is that the fire marshal might not allow this. From the Technical Illusions folks, they've said that at previous trade show venues they've been told by the fire marshal that they're not allowed to have an enclosure at all. If that's the case, we may get away with what you'd seen in the photo, which was to put these sticks along the beams here and push the umbrella off the whole thing. That's the worst case scenario. It's pretty ugly, but it might serve the purpose, and that's only if we need the top roof in the first place. My hope is we don't. So let's collapse this out of the way. I'll start with the Oculus Rift. So this is one of the PCs. By the way, this is how stupid I'm looking right now. I don't know if you can see the screen very well here. Let me try to get closer to it. Okay. I'll have a different account on each one of the PCs. It's much simpler, no icons, no nothing, just these 6 icons here. And they are the Depository Web Application, the Depository Web Service, and the Depository Web Socket. Just make sure that they're all running and you minimize them, and that's the end of that. And I have the toolbar to be auto hide, so they should never even see that. On the desktop I have the viral logo, so when there's nothing running, at least the passersby can see that this is a viral booth. So my proposed layout is to have the Cisco Depository Editor, which is the web-based view into the topology that we're demoing. I have it open twice here, so let me close the second one. And we take this view and we slap it to the edge to take exactly 50% of the view, and I'll hide the toolbar just like this. The reason I want to do that is because the Oculus Rift by default will show us both the left and right eye in a preview window. So this is basically mirroring. It's not the same as before. In previous years we were taking the HDMI output of the PC and splitting it, doing once to the Oculus Rift and the other one to the HDTV, but this time this is just kind of a mirror of the display, which allows us to take that preview window and slap it to 50% again, so they can see one of the eyes, which shows them the exact content, as well as the topology on a 2D canvas. So Xbox controller went to sleep. Let me wake it up. And so side by side you can see that as you're running around the canvas, you'll update the depository. That's pretty much the same as what we had last year. The new experience is now the remote avatar is always shown as a holographic robot avatar in your view here, as well as with the castAR, the augmented reality portion. Regardless which avatar you've actually chosen to represent yourself locally. So with the Xbox controller, I'm not sure if this is showing up in the video, you hit the back button here to switch your skin from male to female, I'm not sure if that's showing up correctly, to robot avatar with a viral logo on your back. And regardless what you choose, the remote avatar is always shown as a robotic hologram. I know I'm repeating myself, sorry. Okay. One of the differences between last year, I know I'm repeating myself also from the previous video I gave a couple of weeks ago, just because I want this to cover all bases for people that haven't watched the previous videos. You'll see that the IP addresses now follow you regardless your rotation. So even if you're looking at a PC from the back, the IP address is rendered better than it used to be and always follows you. Also, now the colliders are on all sides of the boxes, so even if you approach a device from the back side, you'll still get the consoles, the prompts, and the tooltip. The consoles are much clearer, but there's an unfortunate artifact here. Because in the Oculus Rift they correct for chromatic aberration, unfortunately the mirrored display here, the further away from center you go, the more separation between red and blue chromas you'll get. That chromatic aberration is unfortunate, but it's necessary for the 2D displays on the HD TVs. The person in the Oculus Rift, though, gets a perfectly clear image. You'll also notice that the prompts now just use the D-pad up and down. They used to go A, B on the Xbox controller, but I decided to use the D-pad up and down because it's more distinct. Like the person doesn't have to memorize the position of each of the assigned buttons here, but when all you have to do is you remember where the D-pad is, and all of the assigned actions are off of that. So highlight connections simply highlights it on the ground. That's the only action available for all of the other routers on the topology. The servers simply have the same as previous year, perform the trace route and execute command. Execute command, I'm still working on this. It's not exactly what you'll end up with here, but this is an unlimited list of commands that we could have here. So it's an unlimited list. I'm still working on the scrolling capability, but we can add any commands in a command.ini file sitting on disk, and the user just selects from the list. And the only difference between the previous year's dialog boxes and this year's is that now you can A to execute and B to cancel. So let's execute ifconfig. You see the result show up in the display. For the trace route, similar from last year, it doesn't show up very well on the 2D on the HD TV here, but it does in the Oculus, and it's nicely magnified. You pick your remote box, and this is probably, out of the entire Oculus Rift experience, this is probably the most prone to nausea, the one that might induce nausea, and you'll see why. When you invoke the trace route, a little robot is born and traces the path of the trace route, and when you get to the end, it throws you up to the ceiling. So that motion, at all times, you're free to move your head left and right, but at any time you can also abort that entire trace route by hitting B. And what I would suggest is that before they execute the trace route, you simply tell them if they feel any discomfort, just close your eyes. I know it sounds obvious, but when you're in the virtual reality environment, it's not that obvious. So just tell them close their eyes and you should be okay. And then let them know once they're at the ceiling to open their eyes again. And of course they can look straight down and remotely control their avatar as they could in previous years. Okay, what else? So you've seen that. The content of the topology hasn't changed. The motion of the avatar is a lot more responsive now, so you can transition from forward to back to side much quicker than you could in previous years, so I think that was tripping up a lot of people. Unfortunately, you still have to be moving forward before you can rotate like this. In order to pivot, so this is just a turning, as opposed to rotating, which is the right stick. You can still rotate on the spot, and it's a finer grain control now too. You can actually go smaller increments this way. All of the animations that are occurring in one Oculus Rift is now mirrored properly in the second Oculus Rift. What else? The hacker. Okay, so everything you are able to do on the Xbox controller, we have a corresponding key, including even the navigation stuff, onto the keyboard. The keyboard will be the small one here, the gear head, that also has a trackpad so that we can move windows around if we need to. One important point is this Oculus Rift window has to be given focus. if you don't, if you put the focus onto the web page, for example, the Xbox controller's inputs don't do anything. So you have to remember to give focus to the Oculus Rift's preview window for the Xbox controls to be active. Let's see, the hacker, yeah. So as I said, the keyboards have all the equivalents of the Xbox controller. And I'll probably be disabling this, but they can, with the left bumper, invoke the hacker in the network. So glancing around, again with the Oculus Rift, it's a lot more intuitive. You just turn your head and you can find it. The hacker has a big neon sign pointing at it, and it's just going to continue to hack infinitely. What I suggest is, I don't know, just a little spiel is just to say Cisco's network security is of course strong enough to resist such an attack, but if you want to get rid of him, that's where you pull out your gun. So for the gun, you use your left trigger, push and hold. That puts you into the aiming mode. Let me move to the side so the window doesn't show up. And the aiming is really irrelevant. Even if you're pointing completely away from the hacker, your bullet will still find him, because effectively you're shooting guided missiles. I'll show that to you from a different perspective once we're there, but anyway, if they want the satisfaction of being able to shoot it, they basically try to aim general direction, and while still holding the left trigger for aiming, they hit the right trigger once and they can keep firing at it. As long as there isn't 7 seconds elapsed between the last bullet, the hacker will never completely disappear. The reason I did that is because I want to give both Oculus drivers a chance to hit the hacker. I don't want the newbie experience of, oh crap, I didn't get a chance to shoot. Anyway, so that's that. I'll let you see the visual differences. There's also a, yeah, okay, so for the keyboard assignments, let me just show you that you still have the timer idea. That counts down from whatever key you've assigned, so 5 for 5 minutes, 8 for 8 minutes ad nauseum, or the tilde for unlimited. The tilde doubles as resetting the experience if you want to bring them back to home. And the only reason I did that is so that I can get closer to the robot much more quickly. The robot is continually spinning like that. It just has some viral graphics on the claw and has the Virtual Internet Routing Labs on the blast door in the back, the viral logo, the Cisco logo. I'm only pointing these things out because that might be of interest for the participants or the volunteers. You have a blast door, well, I'm calling it the firewall over here, that just has CiscoLive promo banner. And lastly, a visual element is actually, I need someone to confirm. I picked those 4 graphics as a joke, but maybe we end up keeping them for the CiscoLive demos. It's Dave Ward being a rock star, the CiscoLive Milan, and Kristen in front of servers. Anyway, the purpose of this banner is, my intent was just to put the DevNet banner on it, and it was just to show the physics of being able to move your avatar through it, and it actually does react to as cloth, and it's very realistic. And the remote avatar can interact with it as well, so you can both kind of be running through the cloth at once. Anyway, no purpose really, it's just there as a nice visual distraction for the entire VR, specifically for the Oculus part. I think I've said everything regarding this. Oh, lastly, yeah, so you still have the cheat sheet of the Xbox controller. You hit the start button and it brings up Xbox controller in front of you, showing you all the key assignments. That's the, oh, I won't go into that. Oh, the tablet, yeah, that hasn't changed either. The X key brings up the in-game iPad. Oh, that's actually a neat thing you can do. While they have the iPad open, ask them to lean forward, and now with the DK2 Oculus Rift, the head tracking actually brings the iPad really close to your face so you can actually see all the details, so it's a neat kind of visual effect. And again, ask them to tilt all the way down so that they can see their own feet inside of the virtual reality. And the D-pad left and right still toggle between the various layers, or cycle through the layers. And that, I believe, is it. So even with your iPad open while walking, now the motion is a lot smoother than it used to be. I think that was the piece that caused the most discomfort in the earlier version of the demo. So now it cuts down on that. And that's about it, I think, for the Oculus Rift part of this. So both Oculus are always showing the same content. You can see each avatar, even the gun, the iPad, the bullets, and the hacker are also synchronized one another, not only against each Oculus Rift, but also the castAR, which is the last piece here. So for running the castAR, if you need to reboot, just run the castAR initialize application. Can't find my mouse, there it is. Once, and that should initialize the memory of the VIB inside the tent. And then you launch Viral castAR application. Wait a few seconds and then it's initialized. Xbox controller fell asleep, let me wake it up. So my hope is that this one is actually pretty self-driving. We shouldn't need a chaperone on this one. Because I plan on one of the panels here, I'm just going to have the printout of the Xbox key mappings so that they'll know what to do. And there's very little things that they can do with this one. It's mostly just displaying the exact same content they see on the virtual reality inside of this tent. I don't recall if I said this in the video, but I'll be trimming all of these, so nice flat panels all around, just 4 surfaces they can project the castAR view. Now I'm gonna have a hard time with this. Not sure how I'm gonna do this. Can I do this? Yeah, that works. Not very well, but it works. So as you can see, you're looking at the same environment in full 3D inside of the tent, even on the walls, on the side walls here. And the only things you can do with the Xbox controller in this one is you can cycle through the layers. This is the same D-pad side to side. Oops, shoot. I think I have to just give it focus. There we go. So yeah, the D-pad side to side cycles through the eBGPI, BGPO, SPF, MPLS layers. Let me put it back to active. That's the one, I think. So if I take this guy, this is one of the Oculus, and I'll just try running around. Oh, I'm not synchronizing, am I? Anyway, while I'm moving in the Oculus Rift, I don't have them set on the same IP address right now, but the two, not sure if you're still seeing, oh crap, did I not have my head tilted far enough? You might not have been, might not have been seeing what I was showing. This is difficult. The 2 remote avatars that you have from the Oculus Rift are now showing up inside of the castAR system, and effectively you're just eavesdropping, or you're just observing what they're doing. So as they're running around going to the various servers, you'll see the consoles show up here as well. You'll see the hacker, you'll see the explosions, all that stuff. The only things the user can do with the Xbox controller, as I said, the layers, D-pad up and down tracks one avatar or the other. So as it moves around, the camera keeps focused on them and keeps panning around, following them. And lastly, 2 more things. Panning around using the left stick, so you can kind of just move your view all over the place. And an important bit is that none of the walls are actually going to ever project past the physical bounds of the canvas, which is a nice visual effect. I think you'll see what I mean once you put the goggles on yourself and you try. And the right and left trigger allow you to zoom in and out respectively. So as you zoom in, you can see far greater detail, and you can pan around. You can also kind of move around, and as you do that, you'll see the boxes. Oops, sorry, there we go. You'll see the boxes from different perspectives. Like it just sells the 3D illusion that much better. And again, if you go to the side, what I like is if you put the firewall right up against the view here and then have them tap in. I'm not sure if this is going to show up properly on this recording, but they can just physically reach their hand in and tap on here, and it feels like they're actually touching the firewall. I know it makes no sense looking at a 2D recording, but when you're looking at the augmented reality view of this, it really feels like it's actually there. Same thing with the robot. The top of the robot is meant to coincide with the top of the canvas itself, and it'll never protrude past the canvas. The only downside is that the fiducial itself, if you turn your head too far to the left, to the right, to the top or the south, you'll stop tracking. So the best experience I find is just standing back a little bit outside of the tent looking in. And that's about it. Okay, let me know what you think. Sorry about the long video, but hopefully this will serve as everything you need to know for hosting the Oculus and castAR demos. Alright, thanks guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.